This meeting is being recorded.
Very good. And the first item on the agenda is the introduction of MSM directors and officers. And so I'm going to first go to the first page of it and go across the top. Let's see, there's me, I'm the board chair. Ben Fransky is next to me. And can see you there. Just here. And let's see who we got going down. Now, David Downs is down here. He isn't a board member yet. By the end of this meeting, he will be. So Jim Vaikunis down here in the corner. Karen Kurtzman. And let's see, continuing along. Greg Thomas. Todd Bender is the superintendent for Excelsior. Then Dave French is a board member. And if I see Bruce, is that Bruce Gustafson?
Yeah, that's me, Aaron.
Okay, yeah, we're not seeing you. That's why I was wondering. And then Chris Heck. And I think that's where we're at. All right. Well, welcome to it. What you're going to see tonight are a whole series of presentations on the state of the museum. The first one up will be mine, and in just a second I will go and put up a PowerPoint. Several of us have PowerPoints, and I'm going to go over kind of everything, but then you'll hear reports in more detail from other people. So I'm trying not to steal their thunder. I need to share screen, and am I empowered to do that now, Rod?
Should be able to.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's go in here and slideshow. There we go. The year in review. I've tried to use Twin City Line Streetcar yellow for the background here. So on the administrative side, of course, this was the first full year of service we've had since 2019. We didn't run in 2020. We ran an abbreviated year in 2021. We didn't start until July. And so I was very pleased by that. And we had a pretty good year. We had kind of a comparable year to 2019. And when Bruce Gustafson is on here, you will he'll show you the stats. One of the events of the year is we received the largest financial bequest we ever have. We had a member who down in Illinois, not an active member, who passed away. And he was very active in Illinois Railway Museum, but he was an old friend of my father's, and which was the reason that he was a member. And he gave us $131,000. Oh. And that set in motion. It's like, wow, we've never had that much money before. We had not really been doing investing other than things like CDs. And so we decided it was time, we meaning the board, decided it was time to hire a financial advisor. And that has just happened. As a matter of fact, the signed paperwork was done today. And one of the things that Chris Heck and David Downs have been working on and is about to happen is that we're going to go and put $300,000 into a longer term investment to try to make our money work harder, especially in a climate where there is inflation. On the administrative side, David Downs is going to be replacing Chris Heck as treasurer. Chris is stepping down after 5 years, both as treasurer and a board member. And I really want to thank Chris. I mean, he has done just yeoman service. And really, I mean, we're in a much better place because of all of Chris's help. He's so capable and works so hard at it. But enough is enough. And it's a big job. And so he has spent the winter helping David Downs get up to speed. And so at the end of this meeting, we are going to go and install David as the new board member and as the new treasurer. We've had a couple of other positions filled. We have new grounds foreman, Jerry Best at Cobo Harriet, Jerry Drager at ESL. Those were spots that were vacant. And we have one big spot that is opening up. Rod Eaton has been Mr. Special Events now for many years. And he has really kind of done two things. The first is he has been the one who has come up with all sorts of special events and has managed them. He's been the vision guy and he's been the one who's coordinated them, but then he's also run them all by himself for the most part. He wants to get out of this business and I don't blame him. And so he has been gradually offloading individual events to new managers. But what he and Bruce Gustafson and I have kind of come to the conclusion of is we really need somebody who is the special events manager, who can oversee the whole portfolio of special events and give it the direction that it needs. And so that is now going to be an open spot for us to fill. Now, Rod is going to help whoever and work with whoever we can find to do that. But if you're listening, and if you have an interest in being that, that does not mean running each individual special event, but that means coordinating the whole thing. So if so, please let me or Rod or Bruce know. Physical plant. Chief Engineer Keith Anderson can't be with us tonight, so I'm kind of giving his report as well. At Como Harriet, LED lighting replaced fluorescent. Carl Jones really took that project on. The Linden Hills Depot benches and the railings by the pedestrian underpass were painted. Now that's Jerry Betts. Jerry Betts oversaw the painting of the benches, and he and Lewis Hoffman recruited a Boy Scout troop, an Eagle Scout troop rather, who painted the railings by the pedestrian underpass. Ben and Marianne Porter have been the ones that are taking care of the garden. And Mary came to me about a year ago and said, you know, I'm not really sure, I'm getting older. It's a big job. I could use help. And she is a master gardener. And so she worked with the Hennepin County master gardeners. There are a lot of them, including 100 of them that live within a couple, 3 miles of the Como Harriet line, and worked out a deal with them where the Como Harriet, the Linden Hills Garden has been designated an official garden for the master gardeners, and they will be coming out and working with the porters all summer long. As a matter of fact, they started last fall. It turns out that master gardeners have to donate a certain number of hours at certified master gardens that are not their own. And they actually needed more places to go. And so the Linden Hills Garden is it. So I thank Ben and Mary for that. Keith Anderson and Miles Anderson have been out there replacing ties by hand, which is a really difficult thing to do. They've done a dozen this year, and they're going to keep doing that. And then Keith Anderson and Ben Fransky have been managing a project which is going to happen as soon as the frost goes out of the ground, and that is putting a hard fiber optic link between the Como Harriet Depot and the car barn. Right now, it's a wireless link. It's somewhat unreliable. It doesn't have the bandwidth that we need. That's kind of a big project. It's in the budget, and that's going to happen. Physical plant out at Excelsior. Track 3 was realigned. The rest of the car barn was paved. The drainage ditch and pipe alongside the car barn was repaired. The platform by the human door was rebuilt. There was a major cleanup of the warm and the cold barn. So there's John Diller. Hi, John. Getting into equipment, the 1239 truck rebuilding, which is taking much longer than we expected, is moving again. It had been slowed down by COVID. It had been slowed down with our contractor, Rob Mangles, having health issues, having family health issues. It got kind of a reboot of a few weeks ago, and it's moving along again. And Dick Zawacki will go into that in more detail. But in the equipment side, the new tower car at Como Harriet is completed. The new electric speeder has been completed. Masaba 10 has been cleaned out. It's been placed on rehab trucks, moved over to track 2. The 1239 shop truck was installed, and one truck has been removed for rebuilding. All the motors for 1239 have been rebuilt. Car 78's roof has been repainted. The first replacement trolley harp has been completed. We were short of trolley harps, and that has been a big project, which once again, Dick will go into in more detail. One of the small things, if you run 1300, you may or may not know that up in the front door, there was a switch on the doors where you could open one half of the door or open the whole door. And it hasn't been working for years and years. Well, Carl Jones is making it work again. The point of that was to make it so that on a cold day, the motorman didn't have to open both doors and let in all the cold air. Kids Club activities. The Kids Club has really kind of increased its activities once again, thanks to Rod's leadership. On the right-hand side, you see all the different activities that they've been doing. This last year, I believe for the first time, was when there were multiple, almost activities for the Kids Club. We've been doing a lot of computer outreach, a lot of internet outreach. And this happened for the first time when COVID started. We thought, well, we can't run, so let's at least get online. And so we've been putting out 3 Facebook posts regularly. There's an Excelsior post that goes out on Monday. Rod comes up with something generally on Wednesday, that's museum oriented. And then Brian Long on Friday does a history post. This is a recent history post. And one wonders kind of, who found it, who passed it along. But you can see this one got 65,000 views. And it's just downtown Minneapolis at the corner of 5th and Hennepin. But in terms of, this is the outreach we do. And we take some of it for granted, but there's a lot going on. Of course, we put out 4 issues of Twin City Lines. And I can tell you that since I started doing that publication in 2007, I have produced over 1,500 pages of Twin Cities history in the form of Twin City Lines. So that's about 2 or 3 books on the installment plan. Jim has put out 10 issues of the Currents, and I know everyone loves to read the Currents. And I hope I got the number right. I counted 12 issues of the Kids Club bulletins that Rod Eaton put out. We started when there was COVID. We had and we still have a little Monday YouTube group. Facebook group. Zoom group that gets together, and people are welcome to join us. And so I started putting together slideshows, history slideshows. And there are over 50 of them up on our YouTube channel now. I posted 17 new ones this last 12 months. We've had 50,000 views of our YouTube channel because it has the 50 slideshows, and it also has the 5 vintage movie programs on the streetcars. And that's up 67% in the last year. We've put up about 200 Facebook posts, and the total reach on that, people who went and touched on that, 295,000 people contacted our Facebook page. We have the 2,500 photos that are up on the Minnesota Digital Library. 6,300 people access them a total of 99,000 times. So we're getting our stuff out there. The library, I'm the librarian, so this is my baby. And one of the things I've been wanting to get off the ground for some time is a book scanning project, with the highest priority to scan the Russ Olson research notebooks. The library is named for Russ Olson, and his research notebooks are the Bible. He's done so much research, and if you wonder where the stuff that goes into Twin City Lines comes from, it comes from them. And so I've been trying to get a scanning project going for some time, and Floyd Child stepped up this year. And he and to a lesser extent, Sam Wooliver have really started to get into that, and it's happening. I keep the photo database. We added 140 new photos and small artifacts to it in the last year, so there's now over 14,000. I've been trying to kind of straighten out the library, and one of the things that happened recently is that I found that the shop records for 265 and car 78 were all still there. Well, they're not very useful to Excelsior if they're in the Como Harriet Library. They have now been moved out to Excelsior. Little project, I was able to rebox in a much better form all the back issues of Twin City Lines. We have a lot of back issues of that. And for those of you who haven't been around since 2007, I've got, if you would like to purchase back issues, I'll sell them for $2 a piece. And you can, if you want more history, they're there. Casey Benson, the last bullet, Casey Benson gave us a major donation of slides and home movies that he took of the construction of the Como Harriet line back in the 1970s. I've had the movies digitized. The slides are now uncatalogued, but are now all stored and sleeved in the library. And so we've now had 52 years, or rather, yeah, I guess this will be our 52nd year at Lake Harriet. Our museum has a big history, and it's really important that that history is preserved, and we have a lot of that in the library. So that was the last year. Looking ahead, and 2023 coming attractions, and I always put we hope on this because we're all volunteers and things take how long they take. But maybe all of these things will happen this coming year, and there's 2 pages worth of them here. Winona 10's motor, Dick Zawacki will tell you about that in detail, but we're hoping it comes back this year and the car can be returned to service. We hope 1239's trucks are completed, although I am skeptical. I think one's going to get done. I'm not convinced that 2 of them are going to get done this year. The Como Harriet car barn will be wired for Wi-Fi this spring. Ben Fransky is working to get the old Minnesota Transportation Museum mini gazettes, which have all been scanned, finally online. If you go onto our website, you'll see that Electric Railways of Minnesota and its edition and is on, and several other items are on. The mini gazettes are the next thing. Eventually, we'll have Twin City Lines online as well. May 13th and 14th, we're going to participate for the first time in Doors Open Minneapolis. This happened once in 2019, and it was going to happen in 2020, and then COVID came. What Doors Open Minneapolis is an opportunity for some 70 different institutions, businesses, other places to open up the behind the scenes place for people to see the stuff that normally you wouldn't get to see. And so we are there to give car barn tours of the George Isaacs car barn. And so that's going to be a special operation going all day from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, May 13th and 14th. And we're going to have guides in the barn. And I think it's going to attract a lot of people. I am hoping, we're waiting for approval from the park board, but Katie Barron and her husband do World War II/1940s reenacting along with some friends of theirs. And I've wanted for a long time to have a reenactment program where people pose as passengers for a particular decade. And they're going to try doing that this year from time to time. And what we're hoping for is for it to happen on Memorial Day. And we're hoping for it to happen in conjunction with the park board's kickoff of their movies and concerts program on Memorial Day. And we've been in touch with the park board, told them what we want to do, but we're waiting for them to give us a green light. But one or the other, I think this is going to happen. Okay, we're also looking to have the first American Sign Language event. And this is the baby of Anya Kariskas. I've been helping her out on that. The idea is to make our museum more available to people who have some kind of a special need. And so if you have somebody who is deaf or hard of hearing, and the way this event is going to work, and this is going to be May 21st, which is a Sunday, is at 1 o'clock. This will be on the regular shift, but at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 4 o'clock, people can get on the car who are hard of hearing. There will be an American Sign Language interpreter and a guide who will take them on the car, then get off at the car barn, do a car barn tour, and catch the next car back. And so we're going to try it this way. as a kickoff, we're actually applying for a little grant or two to fund it because we have to pay the American Sign Language interpreter. We're going to try the event. Looking ahead, we think that the scanning of the Russells and research papers will probably be completed this year. Jerry Betts has vowed to keep getting railings painted. We have the railings that are down. We have some more railings down by the pedestrian underpass. We have the railings that go down by the car barn by the Linden Hills Boulevard Bridge. And there are railings that are also down at Cottage City. And then I am hoping, and if so, this is 3 years late in happening, I have wanted to have a single landlord for Como Harriet because we are both on city and park board land, and they are two organizations that almost never talk to each other. We have two separate leases with them that have two separate sets of languages and durations. And I've extracted a promise from them that the city, which owns the 50-foot right-of-way that is most of the right-of-way, will lease their land to the park board, who will sublease it to us. So we will then only deal with the park board, who is really who we have only dealt with. We basically never have anything to do with the city. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, that's part of the coming attractions. Getting car 78 back in service and all the operators certified out at Excelsior is a big one. Winona 10's window bars are going to be painted and installed. And the guys at ESL have found a contractor who will donate the work. Very nice. ESL special events will get back to a full schedule. The PJ trolley is going to return in conjunction with the bookstore in Linden Hills, Wild Rumpus. That's been on hiatus for a couple of 3 years. At Excelsior, they're looking for new signage and better visibility at Water Street. Finishing the concrete work at the car barn, which means the apron in front of the car barn, which among other things keeps water out of the car barn. The ESL ticket booth being repaired, converting all the ESL car barn lights to LED, painting the shop floor, and new pit covers. So those are all the things that we are hoping to do this year. You can see it's a pretty full schedule. Now I want to show you a couple of longer term things, and I'm almost done. Now, for those of you from ESL, I have an update. We know that the car barn needs a new roof. The roof is 28 years old or something like that. And the car barn needs new furnaces. We had them break down a year ago and need emergency repairs. And so what we were hoping to do, because of interest from Congressman Dean Phillips, and this is his district, we were hoping to get Congressman Phillips to get us a federal community projects grant to really do a lot of work on the car barn, do the roof, do geothermal heat. We want to package this as environmentally friendly and put solar on the roof. And this right here is an illustration from All Energy Solar of what solar on the roof of the car barn would look like. We've had them evaluate both car barns, and ESL has more potential for sun. And I have wanted for there to be solar. Wouldn't it be cool to have solar powered streetcars? Here's the problem. The Republican House of Representatives, which basically controls this project, has suddenly decided that museums are not eligible. They were previously eligible, suddenly they're not. And so we're back to square one on this project, which I am looking forward to in 2024. Not this year, but 2024. So what we have to do is go back and come up with a plan B for what we can afford to do in 2024 compared to really kind of a gold-plated project that we were going to propose to the feds. So anyway, that's bad news, but I wanted to let everybody at Excelsior know that. Okay, I'm going to close with a really long-term pie-in-the-sky project that I have no idea when or if it could ever possibly happen. But when we were looking at this community projects funding, we said, what could we do at Lake Harriet? And, you know, we go past the park board slum down there by the archery range. the poor little garage thing surrounded by shipping containers that is their maintenance facility. And I went to the park board and I said, you know, wouldn't it be great if we could get some federal money and we could create a joint facility? You, the park board, could get a new updated maintenance facility, and we would combine that with a display car barn with 2 streetcars in it and a meeting room where we could finally have meetings and all, like a community room. And while we're at it, because there's a strong Native American history at Bede-Makaska, something that would history displays that would recognize the Native American history there. And the park board said, well, that sounds pretty good, and put their architects on a concept plan. This is a concept plan for what it would look like. Here it is. You'll notice that's a double-ended streetcar. We don't have one of them, but this was the idea. And the purple area would be ours, and the yellow area would be shared, that we would have access to. And in the purple area, there would be room for displays on the walls. If if people come to us and say, where's the museum? Now we could say this is the museum. And then it would have in it, the green area would be the park boards. Now, because once again, the feds have taken this off the table, this is pie in the sky. But I just wanted you to see a long-term vision for what we could do. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Now, first, are there any questions for me? And if there are questions, speak up, because I can't see everybody. And you'd have to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody, so I'm going to stop sharing. And we're going to move on down. And the next is the secretary's report from Jim Vaitkunis.
Okay, I am, and Rod, I might need your help here on getting this thing up and running.
Are you trying to share screen, Jim? There we go.
Can people see that?
Yeah, Jim, go up to slideshow.
Yeah, I was looking for it and I can't.
Oh, way up in the top. Top a little bit to the left. Just in that top line of things, you'll see, no, go higher. Go to home and then to the right.
It's also,
Oh, yeah, I
it's
see it.
also
Okay,
a button in
click
the
on that.
bottom row.
No, not that.
Jim, you can also click the bottom row. There's a button that looks like a screen
Oh, yeah,
right there.
There you go.
this happens every time. I'm sorry. Okay, so. Okay, in general, we have complied with all of the requirements of our governments that we deal with. And just for your basic information, our insurance bill remained identical, almost identical to last year, which of course is a good thing. Now, a couple of the premiums switched, but it ended up being about the same amount of money. So that was the good news. Our membership, thank you to Barb Gachek for providing these statistics. And you can see as during the years of COVID, our membership did go down, but now we're back up around 300. So. Okay, this evening, we will be electing 2 directors. Karen Kurtzman, who has already had 2 terms, and she will be going for a 3rd. And David Downs will be a new member of our board of directors. And we never did get any nominees for the 2 vacancies. Board meetings, we had 4 last year. And just a reminder that if you want to see what we talk about and what the decisions are made, these board meetings are posted on our website on our website. And two plugs for membership. If you renew online when you get a renewal, that would be helpful, save a little bit of postage and printing. And also your 2-year membership does the same thing. And as brief as I can be, that is it. Do we have any questions?
Okay, I don't
I
hear
did not
any.
hear any.
All right. Well, in that case, Jim will take that down, and the next report will be from Treasurer Chris Heck.
Good evening, everyone, from Grand Marais. I am in a hotel tonight, so that's why I'm not sharing video, just to try to save on my bandwidth so that you can actually see and hear me, or see my screen anyway. So, all right, can everyone see the presentation?
It's there,
All right,
Chris.
there we go. So the first thing I would like to say tonight is we pretty much on schedule have filed our annual return with the IRS, which is the 990 report. We've also filed our report annually with the Minnesota Attorney General. I thank you to Dave Downs for helping with both of those, and for Mona's work all year round in getting everything put into QuickBooks so that it's a simple matter of us running a report and being able to get those numbers to the IRS. From what Aaron said earlier, with the large bequest that we received this year, that pushed our assets above the threshold and put us back into filing the full 990 report with the IRS. For the last few years, we were able to file a rather modified report, or abbreviated report, if you will, which was a bit less work, but we were able to do it nonetheless this year. So I have just a few.
Yeah. Say, Chris. Chris, I hate to miss an opportunity to do history. Can you go back to your title slide, please? That is the Twin City Rapid Transit Company's office building at 11th and Hennepin. Thank you. You may proceed.
It was very, very deliberate, Aaron, that this is sort of the news from the office, and that is the office. All right. So as you can see, because of the bequest from Gordon Geddis's estate, that pushed us above the $500,000 mark in cash in the bank. As Aaron indicated earlier, we will be investing some of that with the help of a financial advisor. I actually just got an email from Dave earlier today saying that we're basically ready to transfer the money over. So that will be happening soon, and I would expect future reports like this from Dave will include a summary of how our investments are doing. But for right now, they're doing fine because they're all just in checking and savings accounts. All right. The planned capital expenses that the board approved earlier this year for the 2023 budget are 4 items that I think Aaron is basically already discussed. The fiber connection between the depot and the car barn in Minneapolis, finishing the motors and window shades on number 10 out at Excelsior, finishing the truck rebuild on number 1239 at Como Harriet, and lastly, there's some apron work at the ESL car barn that they were not able to do last year because of the impending winter weather, and so that's already lined up to do here in the spring. Okay, again, looking back the last few years at what our income is, and this is, I guess, a little bit misleading in the title I have, that I have operational income, in that you might not consider a bequest from a estate to be considered operational income, but nevertheless, that's the way we account for it in QuickBooks. That, as you can see, drove our donations quite high last year, and drove our income close to 300,000, which was definitely the highest it has been in my 5 years as treasurer. Fairs continue to make up the largest portion of our income outside of donations, followed by special events, which in some sense are fairs as well, and merchandise. So it really is our operations and the volunteer work that many of you do that brings in the bulk of our income, and we certainly couldn't do without you. So continuing our usual approach of conservative budgeting, you can see this is what we project for 2023. We're not necessarily banking our cards on having another sized bequest this coming year, which is why the contributions are a lot lower. But you might notice that little sliver at the top, other, which includes investment income, is bigger. And previously, the investment income was merely some rather minor income from CDs and just interest-bearing savings and checking accounts. Now that we will be investing it in stocks and bonds and things like that, we're intending for there to be more income coming from that. So that makes that slice of the proverbial pie a little bit larger. On the expenses side, it's been pretty consistent, really. I mean, we've shall we say, made these bars a little bit shorter or taller depending on the year, but the ratio of each of these buckets sort of remains the same. Repairs and maintenance on the cars taking up a lot of it, followed by utilities and insurance are really our big three tickets that make up the bulk of it. Other is kind of just a catch-all for volunteer services and things of that nature. So it's not really possible or not really worthwhile to break it out more discreetly than that. And again, with 2023, we have solicited input from the various department leaders to develop this budget. That's where the largest source of this information comes from, along with looking at the previous year's budget versus actual numbers and trying to forecast where things are headed. So you can see there's some minor gains in things like utilities, which no doubt all of us are seeing just with our home utility prices. The museum sees that as well. And I think this is my last slide. I try to present some depiction of what you might call the profitability of each of the sites by looking at the income versus expenses for each site over the last 5 years. And again, this includes projections for 2023. This is a little bit not the full story because we consider utilities to be a museum-wide expense and not a site-specific expense. It's sort of the cost of doing business, if you will. So the expenses are a little bit lower than they truly are. But you can see we continue to derive the bulk of our operating income from Como Harriet, and there's rather healthy margins there. Excelsior continues to be sort of a break-even, maybe a little bit losing money, but overall the museum is in fine financial shape. I think chiefly because of that Geddes bequest, probably the best in my time with the museum, which has been since 2004. So I think we're in good shape. So that's what I have. But if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Chris?
I think I see Jim talking, but I think he's muted.
Yeah, I just pushed my space button, my space bar. I just want to make a comment that if people want to get into the weeds on this financial stuff, every board meeting typically has a fairly extensive breakdown of the profit and loss statement. So if you want to know how much specifically was done for one thing or another, just go to our website, go to our minutes, and you'll be able to get the excruciating detail on the financial side of this stuff.
Okay. So one of the things that we're required to do is for the membership to approve the treasurer's report. And I need a motion, and this can be a motion from anybody on the floor. And I'm going to read the motion to you and you can say so moved. I hereby move that the MSM Treasurer's Annual Financial Report be approved as to form and content. Does anyone want to make that motion?
So moved.
So move.
Okay, I heard Leah and a second.
Floyd will second.
and Floyd Child seconded. And I don't know that we really need discussion on it. Any, all those in favor, and because we're on here, raise your hand. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? And it's passed. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to the General Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Aaron. I will. Let's see. Okay, all right, can everybody see my screen?
Got it.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Aaron. Thank you, everyone, for allowing me to speak here. My name is Bruce Gustafson. I am the General Superintendent. I just want to note that Todd Bender and Karen Kurtzman collaborated here with the presentation. So this is, in fact, going to be a combined general and ESL superintendent report. So giving a couple of highlights of 2022, what we continue to see is a similar pattern that we've seen in prior years, which is that our roster in total, last year we had 117 qualified operators. You can see the comparison to 2021, which was a slight dip, and then back to 2019, the pre-pandemic period. We've historically over the last 8 to 10 years kind of bounced around in this 100 to 120 qualified operators. What we continue to see in this first bullet here is about 80% of the qualified operators actually operate during the season. And as we see in the Como, Harriet, and Excelsior areas, that 80%, 82%, 79%, but that about 80% of the operators in both locations actually operate shifts. And as we have seen, we continue to follow a historical pattern where a relatively small group, 14 in Como, Harriet, you can see their names there, and 7 in Excelsior contribute the bulk of the hours. They contribute in both cases more than 50%. That's relatively small group of volunteers. So if you're on that list, we thank you. And if you're not on that list, we hope you can get there one of these days. As Aaron mentioned in his opening comments, the ridership in 2022, I'm showing Como, Harriet here. I'll show Excelsior in a moment. 2022 was actually a very, very strong year. You can see the monthly activity, both in terms of passengers, tokens, and passengers per trip, some general stats there. But we finished the year with about a little over 21,000 riders for our what I would consider to be our regular schedule, regular period, and then had another 1,600 in the fall special events. That is, as Aaron mentioned in his opening statement, dramatically better than 2021, the abbreviated season. We're up over 9,000 riders from 2021 and comparable to 2019, which again was the last pre-pandemic year. The comparison both in terms of the special events, the fall winter special events. As you may recall, we lost a couple of shifts at Como, Harriet, excuse me, in December due to some poor weather. Well, at Como, Harriet, I also wanted to call out charter activity. Pat Cosgrove did an amazing job in helping to streamline the process. And as you look at this, again, similar to the regular ridership, we had 1,800 or almost 1,800 charter passengers, which was comparable to 2019, and again, significantly better than 2021. But charter revenue, charter activity continues to be a strong performer and a significant piece of our overall ridership. At Excelsior, again, similar pattern to what we saw at Como, Harriet, had roughly 6,000 riders, which breaks down into roughly 3,000 for regular scheduled, 400 for charters, and another 2,300 for special events. As noted with Como, Harriet, the Excelsior performance year over year relative to 2021 was substantially better and very comparable to 2019. Karen, Todd, is there anything you would like to add to that? I'll take that as no. I'll move on.
I don't have anything. Took me a while to get to the mute.
The only thing I can say is that we had some challenges this year with construction next to us, and we had a black fence that blocked us from visibility, and farmers market failed in Excelsior. So we had lost ridership that way. So we have a couple challenges ahead of us this year.
Okay. I'm showing this slide on merchandise, and I typically do this for those of you who have the chance to read through the operations newsletter. I find the merchandise sales is kind of fascinating, and it's really important. If you go back to some of the slides that Chris talked about, our revenue from ongoing operations is $110,000, something like that. Almost 30% of it is driven off of merchandise. So it's incredibly important that, again, I think last year we started having the station open during charters, a way of generating some additional revenue. But the activity in the store or in the station, whether it's at Excelsior or Como Harriet, continues to be a significant, it has a very positive impact on our overall financial performance. Okay, so looking forward now to 2023, at Como Harriet, the schedule is essentially the same as it was in 2022. We will do weeknight service Wednesday through Friday, week afternoon service Wednesday and Friday, and then a full activity on the weekend. We'll continue to have 2 PCC shifts, Thursday evening and the first shift on Saturday. And as Aaron alluded to again in his opening comments, we are planning to run a full slate of special events, including some of the activities listed below. Rod, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there anything on the special events that you would like to call out?
Not really, Bruce. I just wanted to mention that our PJ party tickets went on sale for the June event, and we started with 120 tickets. We only have 10 left right now. So that event's almost sold out, 3 months beforehand. And also, could I mention, please, Bruce, that we have Bill Aarons to thank for all that merchandising. He not only is our buyer and keeps the depot stocked with all that stuff, but he also does all the fulfillment for online sales, which is becoming a bigger and bigger share of all sales.
Thank you for that call out. And I have to also acknowledge Bill provides me all the data. So without Bill, we'd be tough shape on that all over. Okay.
Excuse
At
me, may I
Excelsior-
add something?
Yeah.
This is Leah Hart. May I add
Go ahead.
something? For your special events, I just want it noted that I'm ready to marry anybody. I am legally registered with the state of Minnesota. I will marry anyone, anywhere, anytime on the streetcar.
Leah,
Thank you,
somehow that sounded like a threat, Leah.
Better watch out, Rod. I'm going to marry you.
Well, Leah, polygamy is not legal in Minnesota, so you can't marry too many people.
Well, okay.
Well, we'll have to figure out, Leah, how to incorporate that into our advertising. That's terrific. Okay.
We have a
So-
we have a judge out at ASL who retires next year and has proposed a new charter event where he will marry people as well.
So noted, it's been recorded. Okay, so at Excelsior, Karen, I'm gonna let you talk to this. You mentioned some of the challenges we've got going into the 2023 season.
Yeah, we have ridership is a challenge with us. We're kind of set back off of the streets, Water Street, where people linger. But we're looking to grow some of our special events this year. So while our shifts will be running on Saturday and Sunday, we're going to try to throw in more weekday, weekday and week evening events, such as our Storytime Trolley. We have an author who has volunteered to read, and we've got a couple pop-up events planned that we aren't quite sure what they're going to look like yet.
Okay, more to come. Thank you, Karen.
Mhm.
All right, for my last slide, I'm going to talk just very briefly about the startup activities. Ben Fransky is in the process of putting our recertification quiz online. We're hoping to get that out within the next week or so. Again, so it's going to be online. It will be, as we did last year, self-correcting. All volunteers are required to take the recertification quiz. All volunteers are also required to take point of sale training, whether that's at Como Harriet, and Rose Aarons is going to lead that, or whether it's at ESL, and that'll be led by Karen. So again, we'll send out more information on both of those in the next week or two, but be prepared that in order to be reactivated in shift plan, you have to complete those activities. Which leads me to my special note over here that if you go into shift planning today or tonight, you will find out that you have generally been deactivated. You don't have access to the system. You will not have access until you finish the recertification requirements. The other recertification requirements, as a reminder, for all second-year operators and those volunteers with less than 10 hours of operation in 2022, there will be a series of check ride dates and times that will be open to you in the month of April for you to get behind the wheel, as it were, and do a recertification test. More information will come out with that when I send out the operations newsletter in the next day or two. And lastly, we will have foreman and operator meetings at both Como Harriet and at Excelsior Car Barns. The schedule is being developed, but we're targeting late March start to mid-April to have those meetings. What we'll probably do is plan a few meetings that will be in person at the car barn. And then I think what we'll end up doing is having, excuse me, one sort of catch-all one a little bit later in the month that'll probably be done via Zoom, just to try and make sure everybody can hear what we're planning to do for 2023 and ask any questions. All right, so with that, I will stop sharing and turn it back over to Aaron.
Bruce, could you just mention, or either Bruce or Jim, talk about the format changes on shift planning?
I think that's Jim.
Just kind of warn everybody about it.
Jim?
You're still muted.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, go ahead. You're good.
Okay, there we go. I just sent a V-gram to everybody about what shift planning is. For the non-operators, shift planning is the way our crews sign up to volunteer for a shift. The proprietors of Humanity/shift planning have decided to create a new and improved version that's got a lot of bugs on it. And so, but luckily, what they're calling the legacy system is still posted on the website. They're the Humanity website. So basically, you go to the legacy version and you'll recognize it immediately. You go to the new version, a lot of the shifts that were already created by Bruce don't show up. That's the real problem with it. So until further notice, go to the, when it's time, when you get qualified and recertified, just go to the legacy system and you'll be able to sign up for your shifts.
Yeah, I just wanted people, because if you open it up now, you go, what the heck? And wanted people to know that it had changed.
Yeah, it did. And it's not a nice change. Obviously, I'm skeptical of changes in my cages, but hopefully they'll be able to fix the glitches and get it running. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
All right. Are there any other questions for Bruce Gustafson? Okay, hearing none, our last report is the mechanical department report from Dick Zawacki. Over to you, Dick.
Okay, let's see, I just have to share my screen here. And we'll get this all.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, first of all, I have to apologize to everyone for not having my presentation in official MSM colors. I'll try to do better on that next year. The first slide is, we're going to talk about the cars at CHSL. And on 1300, the very first bullet point is really a accumulation of things that happened, especially at Como Harriet last year. We had just a number of nuisance maintenance issues that happened. Brake operators, brake operations going haywire, brake springs breaking, just a number of things. I don't know if it was because we just didn't operate in 2020 and then had limited operation in 2021 and all of this stuff piled up on us or whatever. But the real point is that the crew at CHSL did a great job of addressing all of those new maintenance issues without really impacting the schedules. We were much like the duck swimming on the lake. Everything looks real serene on the top, but we're going like mad underneath the water. And several of the members there, Mark Diggory and Russ Isbrandt, John Prestolt, a number of others. I know I'm forgetting a few of the people, really put in a lot of extra time coming in after hours or on days off to keep the cars going. So that was a big help. One of those issues that we had was that we had one of the circuits go out in the car because we had it overloaded with heaters, and Carl Jones did a great job of breaking up those circuits and balancing the load on all the circuits in the car. So we should have a much better with the car this year. As Aaron mentioned earlier, we upgraded the interlock system on the doors so that now we can open one door at a time. Also, that means that we're not going to unintentionally close the door when somebody's standing in it and create a problem that way. Hopefully that will also keep any insurance costs down too. I mentioned earlier that the brake shoe return springs had broken on 1300, and it made us realize that we had a real hodgepodge of brake shoe return springs on the cars, and a lot of those were put in because of situations like this where a spring broke and somebody just slapped in something that worked. That spring, what it does is it after the brakes are applied, it returns the brakes to a relaxed position. Dennis Stevens came up with a great new design for that and standardized all of those springs. So now they're all the same on 1300, and they will have that same design on the 1239 trucks that the guys are working on. Speaking of brakes, we've ordered, Dennis Stevens came up with a new material ductile iron for the brake shoes, and we've ordered some of those. We expect better wear out of those shoes also. And as Aaron mentioned earlier, we've gotten a new design for the trolley wheel harp. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the part that basically holds the trolley wheel to the pole and allow the trolley wheel to rotate. We had been woefully lack on having any replacements of those, and Dennis came up with a new design and a new casting for that trolley wheel harp. The first one has been pretty well machined and is almost ready to go. On 322, the PCC, we also again upgraded that door interlock system, and one of the problems that we had in 2022 was we had some problems with the battery charging system. And so Mark Diggory and Russ did a great job of upgrading that battery charging system. And then we're also working on repairing several portions of the body exterior that have been rusted and damaged over the years. And the group, including Howie Melko, is working on that. The speeder, sometimes known as the turbo speeder, has been upgraded. The new speeder now has a 2.5 horse motor versus a 75 or 0.75 or 3/4 horse motor. So that results in about a 333% power increase. We've also, the guys at Como Harriet upgraded the drive system on the speeder. So when we can now pull a 3-car work train, plus having at least 3 people on the car itself. So we've got a lot more power. And that also helps us now pull that new tower car that Aaron mentioned too. The tower car has improved safety rails on the top level for those working on the overhead. Those rails can now be raised and lowered to give better protection for people working on that top platform. It's going to use a scissors lift to raise and lower the platform, and that's run by an electric motor. And then the guys have upgraded the access with a better ladder system to get up to that top flat platform. The old tower car will be going to Capital City Trolley Museum out in Washington, D.C. And hopefully as soon as we get rid of the snow on the tracks, we'll be able to get that out of the car barn and free up some space for some of the other projects. Here's a picture of the new speeder and the tower car. That's Jim Wilmore back there at the controls of the new speeder. You'll see the tower car in front, and that car in between is the generator that provides the power for the tower car to raise and lower the tower car with the 1239, as we talked about before, completed backdating and standardization of the car to a 1920s era appearance. What that means is that it's now going to look like a car from the 1920s era. As I said, previously we've had parts of it that look like it came from the 1930s and parts of it that came from the 19-teens. And so we made a decision to standardize on a 1920s era appearance and have changed the car's look to do that. Part of that is installing a replica Baker heater in the motorman's area and putting Edison style interior lights that are actually LEDs inside to give it that appearance. Moving on to the new trucks, we have all the parts are now fabricated to look like the original Baldwin number 5 trucks that were originally used on 1239 when it was first built. The trucks that were under the car before were from a Chicago Rapid Transit truck that were not original to the car. So we're going to have a much better look to the car from a historical perspective. There are 4, as Aaron mentioned, 4 GE 241B motors that have been built to use on the new trucks. These were ones that we bought from Halton County Radial Railway Museum in Canada, and they were upgraded and refurbished at L&S Electric up in Brooklyn Park or Brooklyn Center. I can never remember which one. And as Aaron mentioned, we have started the build of the first replacement truck. This is the old frame that was from the trucks. You'll notice that in front of the truck is the old axle and the bull gears. But this is the way a truck starts, is with the frame just looking like this. This is where we are as of last week. You'll notice that actually a couple of the parts, that little piece on the left side of the truck with the depression in it has been taken from the original frame, and the little vertical uprights there are for the journal boxes, and those will be welded in place. And so this is where we are right now with the initial welding and the initial fabrication of the truck frame. It's actually upside down to facilitate the rebuilding of the truck frame itself. It's a little hard to see in this picture, but wrapped in plastic and underneath those tables are the 4 motors. They've served to be a great way to make new tables, work tables at Como Harriet, but we certainly would like to get them out of there, and that's the plan for this year, is to certainly get at least 2 of those motors out of there on the first truck that we make. Well, we have 1 motor on each axle on the truck, on each truck. So that makes for 4 motors, or two motors per truck, 4 motors all total that we have. Out at Excelsior 265, we did to the door operation mechanism so that operates a little more smoothly. We also upgraded the rear brake controller and switch mechanism, and basically 265 did yeoman's work last year, supporting all of the regular operations. We hope to, with the addition of 78 back in service, be able to balance that load out between the 2 cars. We had a couple of years ago, we had problem with one of the controllers, and basically burned part of some of the contacts inside the controller. That led to a completely rewiring and updating the controller, and Howie Melko did the majority of that work at his home, so hats off to Howie for doing that. We did also get a lot of better operation out of that controller now, and it should be a much safer controller. We also improved the shutoff contacts on both of the controllers on either end of the car because of that. As Aaron mentioned, we put 2 new coats of paint on the roof of 78. We also improved the mounting of the ditch lights on the car, and we've upgraded the battery charging system to the car also. On Minnesota Valley Public Service, or Winona 10, the GE 800 motor rebuild is in progress. I'm expecting that sometime in May that motor will be delivered back to us, and I'll show you a couple pictures later on here and talk a little bit more about that. Also, as Aaron mentioned, the window bars have been sent out for powder coating, and hats off to our one of our newer members out at Excelsior, Chris Hover, who was able to get all of that material and labor donated to us. It's about $1,300 worth of material and labors that are donated to us by someone that Chris knows. And so that's some money there. For was a big part of the work that happened out at Excelsior this past year. The crew took the two old Japanese trucks out from underneath the car body, brought them into the car barn and cleaned and completely took out all the old oil and lubrication, added new oil, and then did some refurbishment on the two trucks. The motor actually, we expect they are looking at, but they've not been tested yet to ensure that they actually do operate, but we have every reason to believe that they will. Those two trucks were installed under the car body, and that's the first time in 95 years that truck there, that car body has actually had its own trucks and been moved on its own trucks. In 1927, the car was taken out of service up in Masabe and sold, and the trucks were removed and scrapped. So 95 years later, we finally have that car body on its own trucks. So that was a great accomplishment by the crew out at Excelsior. A lot of the car body, unfortunately, it turned into a trash receptacle for a lot of unwanted or unused things and so they removed a lot of that trash, got rid of it, or at least cataloged it and got it all put to where it is, where it was needed. And then we've repositioned the car in preparation for starting some sort of restoration on the car. The thought right at the moment is that we will be doing restoration of just parts of the car to use for during car barn tours to show people what the restoration process actually looks like. I mentioned the motor for Winona 10. This is the armature that goes into it. On the left, you see the commutator end of the armature with all the wires. There's 105 wire coils that go into this armature, and each one of those coils has two ends of the wires that come out and get attached to the bars of the commutator. The picture on the right is the back side of the armature, and so you can see that there are a few more coils that need to be added. In this picture, I believe there were 70 or 72 of the coils installed. I just got a communication from a fellow named David McLean at Swiger Coil, who's been my contact. He and I talk weekly about the progress of this armature and the motor, and he told me today or yesterday that all the coils have been wound and installed in the armature, and now the armature will be back to the shop where David actually has a lot more influence and clout and can move things along a lot quicker. So we now the rest of the work that needs to be done in that shop is to TIG weld each one of the wires to the correct bars of the commutator, and then do what's called VPI, or vacuum pressure impregnation, where that whole armature will be basically impregnated with epoxy and then balanced. And then once that's done, Then they'll install the armature in the motor, do the any final assembly and the testing, and then the car or the motor should be back to us. So that's why I say that this looks very positive, and I expect the completed motor to be back to us sometime in May. The Masabi 10 move, as we said, we moved the trucks around. Figure, the best way to do this was human power. We calculated that we had about 3/4 of a horsepower moving this truck around to get it back underneath the car. But on the right, you can see the Masabi 10 car body that's up on blocks and ready to have the trucks pulled or positioned underneath, and then the car body was very, very onto the trucks, and that was an operation that was not without some drama of its own. But it got and completed, and here's the car actually in itself. If you look very carefully on the left side, you'll notice that the car is fairly close to the door. We made it out with about an inch to spare of clearance, and we're able to get the car out of the car barn. And this was before the tracks had been realigned and the concrete put in. So now that the tracks are realigned and the concrete's in, it makes it a lot better for Masabi 10. Last thing, the ESL power car also has been upgraded, some new shelving and some decluttering and removal of a lot of or reorganization, I should say, of a lot of the materials on that tower car. So are there any questions?
There are two things. Oh, do I see Tom there?
Yes?
Oh, okay. Well, Tom, I thought you had a question there.
No?
Okay. Two things. First, just a note on Masabi 10. The Japanese trucks we have are very close to being the exact truck that the car actually had when Masabi 10 was running. Can you go back to the slide before that? Okay, those are Baldwin curved equalizer trucks, and the car originally had 78-inch wheelbase trucks. These are 75s of the same 75-inch of the same model, and so that's one reason why when we do bring it back, it'll look the way it looked. The other thing was in the chat, John Dillery had a question. He wanted to know when were the new ductile steel brake shoes supposed to be installed? Is it only as we go, or are they going to all be refitted?
It's my understanding that they'll be replaced as we go.
Okay.
And if there's anyone at the, I noticed that Dennis was on the call. If you have any clarifications to that, please chime in.
Well, actually, they're not. The newest lot will be gray iron. We didn't find a
Gray
difference
iron.
between ductile and gray iron. We've used both. But we expect delivery of the latest batch in May sometime.
Okay.
It will be the brake shoe on both 1239 and 1300.
Okay. Any other questions or comments for?
Well, Dick, John here. In the chat, I also asked, without getting in the weeds, mind you, if you can, the new trolley wheel harp design. Real quick, is what prompted that? Are we going to have less problem with dewirings? Which is always a concern with all the back polling we do. Is there any story there? Thanks.
Dick? Dick, this
Yes?
is Rod. If you can get off of screen sharing, I might be able to
Sure.
find a picture of the harp real quick here.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah,
The new trolley harp design is as close as I could copy to the original trolley harp. So as far as operation, there should be no difference at all.
Dennis, were you trying to get in?
No, I wasn't, but
Okay, yeah, your little box there lit up and that's made me think you wanted to talk. Okay. All right, anything else for Dick Zawacki?
Yeah, the motors for the new 1239 trucks require new ball and pinion gears. Has a contract been let to machine the new gears?
I can answer that, not yet.
Okay,
Here's that harp assembly that we've been talking about.
yeah. Okay. All right, if nothing else in maintenance, the last item on the agenda is the election of directors. Once again, Karen Kurtzman is going to be here for a third term, and Chris Heck's term ends, and David Downs will be replacing him. And what I am looking for, we don't actually, under our bylaws, need a vote. What we need is acclamation. And so I'm going to read the motion once again and ask that somebody move it. And so the motion is, I move that Karen Kurtzman and David Downs are elected to fill director positions on MSM's governing board of directors for a term of 3 years, which terms expire March 2026. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
This is
Okay.
Floyd. I'll second it.
And Floyd seconded. I think I saw Russ Isbrandt move it or something. I'm not sure. Okay, once again, all in favor, raise your hands. Anybody opposed? Congratulations to both of you. And now we're going to adjourn the meeting. And then what follows now will be a very brief one-item board meeting to elect the officers of the board. This is not a regular meeting to do anything else. So the membership meeting is adjourned, and I'm going to call the board meeting to order.